This is a Scribner meeting being conducted via Zoom. Roll call for those who are present. Walter Durack.
Present.
Dave Toth.
Here.
Lisa Rollins.
Here.
And Amanda Loud is also here. So we have the full body of the Scribners. In addition, we have with us 2 members of the and a quorum of the library trustees, Alice Staples and David Rule. Very good. So first off, I'm just going to kind of go through our agenda, which has some things that are just Scribner related and other things that affect both of us joint bodies. So financial report, we have a balance in our checking account. I've paid the roofing bill. And the balance, as far as I am concerned, is $5,258.30. And that's sitting as cash in the Scribner checking account. One thing I thought of today as I was looking at this balance is moving forward with the library is this checking account does exist. We have checks for it. It just says Scribner. And as we get closer to March, or perhaps directly after the vote in March, because it is going to have to go before the town, we can get you signatory authority on this. And I think that's Sarah right there. We can get you signatory.
Hello, it's me.
Hi, Sarah. I would just started the meeting and had a roll call. We will add that Sarah Weinberg is here as well. We can get you signatory, you library trustee signatory authority on the checking account. I'm not quite sure what the final judgment will be on where those checking funds go, if they're to be put into the trust or if that checking account can stay as it is. But as it comes, getting you, my point is getting you signatory authority on it is very simple to do. It's not going to be a big deal at all. So let's talk about, we have 2 things we need to talk about. Probably we'll discuss with the library trustees regarding the dissolution of the board and the trust. This is, of course, our public hearing, if you will, to talk about what the Mitchell Group submitted. I didn't have any problems with it. I will note that according to it, fine, doesn't bother me at all, that the library trustees, it will be invested with the trustees of the trust funds. And we have a meeting on Friday, December 4th, where we will have this also in our minutes of having discussed it, even though there is an overlap here. But the library will be able to request and spend both income and principal, not income only. We have our other trusts, as they state with the paperwork we have, are income only. And of course, over the years, the problem has been that the principal was also expended. And so they're terribly depleted. But it does state clearly in this document that the library can request both income and principal. So in theory, for however much money is released, is there for you in the end of all this, you get maybe $85,000. You could spend all of it if you wanted. I mean, that's how I read the document. Silence.
Right.
I don't think that there's a problem with it. I think, it's the paperwork that, manages it. It's not a problem to me. I thought it looked good to me. Did anybody have any objections to it at all?
No, I thought it looked very good as well.
Okay, so then I will put on a motion that we vote on we accept this dissolution of the Scribners as proposed by the Mitchell Group. Can I have a second on my motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, now is there any discussion about this, accepting it? This would mean that it would go before the town in March, and they would vote to, I guess, accept what the Mitchell Group has proposed, that would be dissolving the Scribners and placing the monies that are left into a trust that the trustees of the trust funds manage, but that the library trustees have authority to or requesting authority, I guess, or something like that, on the funds. I'm concerned, and I say this to the library trustees, certainly you will certainly have the paperwork to prove that you get these funds. And this is a lot more, and you'll have, at least as it starts, its beginnings, trustees of the trust funds that know this and are certainly very amenable to this fact. I am thinking about for the benefit of some FBO funds for the library that were put on reinvest orders to the point where you never saw any of the money. Not that there was a lot of money to see, but you never saw any of the money. And it reinvested to the point and was so inactive that I got a letter from the Addison Fund, which was for the benefit of the library, that it was being declared inactive and would be declared abandoned if I didn't intervene. So clearly you're going to have a lot more paperwork than we have on some of these other funds that prove that you have the rights to these funds. The history has been such with the trustees that I as a townsperson of Ashland have some concern over where this will be in 10 or 15 years. I'm certainly ready to release all the funds you want and understand the paperwork, as is Dave Toth and as is Walter Durack. I'm not sure where things will be in 10 or 15 years. But having said that, I still like, the document that's drawn up. I would just say that we will have more paperwork, or you will have more paperwork in your arsenal than you have had in the past.
Was there some question of the document? They dissolved the trust.
Yeah, and the trustees.
And they did dissolve the trustees. That was my question.
Yeah, they're both dissolved, because once there's no trust, there's no reason to have any trustees. And it all is kind of an 11th, here, let me pull this up. I can share the screen. Okay, I'm getting real good at this. Oh, after the day I've had. Here we go. There we go. State of New Hampshire, Emma Scribner Trust. Whereas, the original purpose. Wish to resign. So I'm looking at paragraph where I don't know what it is. Wish to resign and have the Scribner board terminated. The long run, da 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 da. And so I think kind of responsibility, purpose of trust, powers and duties. The corpus of the trust shall continue to be held in the custody and under management of the trustees of the trust funds, and they shall maintain and record. So we're pretty much gone. The Scribners are gone when the trust is gone. And it talks about how we wish to resign.
Okay.
Our question, though, was more about the Warren article, particularly, which, the town meeting established the Scribner trustees and gave them certain powers.
Mm-hmm.
So the Warren article doesn't really refer to repealing that part that says there will be Scribner trustees, since they have these certain powers. It just talks about the trust, and and there's nothing really in this document beyond the whereas that says, there will be no more Scribner trustees. So we're just wondering about the legality of that. If the town meeting actually should vote is also to just get rid of the Scribner trustees as well.
I think that would be a question to ask Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
We're all at the BOS meeting. And I understand what you're saying, because I don't see that either, except as it says the whereas that we all want to resign.
Yeah, it doesn't mean somebody couldn't appoint a new board. So
yeah,
right.
I think you're right. I think, and I understand on the one hand the library wanting the trustees of the trust fund to maintain the investment of the funds. I'm speaking just for myself, and I'm not wearing any hat except, as a townie, I'm a little concerned about that, because I don't know where things will be in 10 or 15 years. And I know where things were 15 years ago. Wow. So I think that we might, it would probably be in the best interest of the library to have something in that says there can be no no Scribner, that no one else can have purview of the building but the library trustees, and that, to that effect.
Right.
Any other questions? Lisa's reading this. I can see I don't want to be scrolling when you're reading.
Well, I was just going back and I was just reading that paragraph again.
Uh-huh.
Wish to resign and have the Scribner Board of Trustees terminated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does say terminate the board.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I guess that's what's happening. The board.
And that would mean this board and any other boards of Scribner trustees, I would assume, but
But
I don't
that,
know if it would
assume
affect,
anything.
yeah,
I wouldn't say it affect the future. I said it affect the present.
right.
You know,
And there's
Yeah.
nothing in the actual action part of this thing that says you're terminated.
Right. It establishes the trust.
Yeah, moves the trust money.
But I think because the trust, it makes sense, David, that if that we wish to be terminated, it does say that we wish to be terminated, but then it's going to establish a trust and make the both principal and incomes, that's what I was talking about, of the trust may be used. Powers and duties, the corpus shall continue to be held in the custody and under the management of the trustees of the trust funds.
Right.
And then we will transfer income and or principal to the library trustees. So once the trust stays established, but the Scribner trustees, I guess, are de facto terminated by this language, because the Scribner trustees don't have management of the trust anymore, and the Scribner trustees cannot request expenditures from it.
Right.
So I guess you could still have Scribner trustees, but they wouldn't have anything to do with the money, or investing it or spending it.
Right.
And it says that that would be continue to be used exclusively for the care and maintenance of the Scribner building and park. So I don't see that even if there were Scribner trustees, the money's going to be paid over by them to the town's trustees.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Well, this document's not so bad, but our question was whether, since that board was established by a vote of the town, did
Yeah.
you have to have another vote of the town to take it away?
And I think that's what's going to happen in March. This has to be put before the town.
Right.
It is being put before the town. So I guess the question is, what exactly would that warrant article say?
Right.
And is that up to the Board of Selectmen?
Well, warrant articles go through legal.
Right, but who's writing that warrant?
I'm
article?
assuming the Mitchell Group is.
Okay,
But that would be an excellent question to ask
yeah,
on Monday. I think I think as far as we Scribners are concerned, and I don't mean to speak for the board because I put a motion out for discussion, and that's where we are, is discussing this. As far as we Scribners are concerned, looks good to us. We seem to be terminated, and we're no longer dealing with the funds as Scribners, and we're no longer spending them as Scribners. The library is requesting it from the trustees of the trust funds.
mhm.
It's just a loose end. We're wondering if it has to be tied up or not.
Well, I think it's an excellent question for the library's perspective to ask on Monday.
Okay.
Anything else? This is the 5.3 is standard trustees of the trust fund stuff. So is 6.1 and 6.2 and 6.3. That's just standard trustee stuff. As of the date of transfer of the funds, both the Emma Trust and Board of Trustees shall be terminated, and after that date shall have no further trust responsibilities or obligations. There you go.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And 7.1 and 7.2 are just standard stuff in any contractual agreement. So if there's no more discussion on this by the Scribners, I'm going to call for a vote. Any more discussion?
could you just read the motion again, please?
I have a motion to accept the what is it, the official the non-judicial settlement agreement pursuant to RSA 564-B:1-111. I have a motion for the Scribner board to accept this,
I'll second the motion.
seconded by Lisa Rollins. I will have a roll call vote now. Dave Toth,
Aye.
Walter Durack,
Aye.
and Amanda Loud, Lisa Rollins, sorry.
Aye.
And Amanda Loud also votes aye. It was unanimous that we accepted this. And we will, I have been signed out because my account is signed in from another device. Are we still there?
I got you.
I'm here.
I wonder if there's not another meeting scheduled. There was not another meeting scheduled for this. I hope we're not going to get bombed with somebody that's coming in that I don't know about and starts writing all over everything like last time. Were you in that meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, gosh, I'm watching. I don't see anybody. Okay. I don't know what's going on with that. Let me check something. I don't know. I don't see anything. Okay. 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 Well, here we are. So, okay, on the agenda next then, quickly, if the library would mind just waiting for a moment for us to do a little bit of business, and then we'll come back to you, and then we have no more business after we have our final little discussion on future and things that need to be done. We have a Scribner report that David Toth wrote, which was excellent in my opinion. And we Scribners need to vote formally to accept this. Did anyone have any discussion or anything they wanted to talk about on what Dave wrote?
Mardine said that there was an error in the in one of the committees at the beginning, and I don't have the document in front of me.
Okay, I'm working on it. If I can just get this figured out. Hold on, share. I think I shared my desktop with you all. So how come I'm looking at the Scribner report and it's coming up blank? Let's try this again. There it is. I found it. Okay, there it is. Let me try to get a better screen share going. There we go. Okay. The Scribner trustees recently recommended to the Ashland Board of Trustees that the Scribner Trust be dissolved because the fund has been overspent and only a portion of the principal remains. The performance of the Scribner Trust Fund and the history of transactions show why the trust has been depleted. The previous trustees maintained the amount but not value of the original of the principal. I don't see where is the error?
I think it's the Ashland Board of Selectmen,
Whereabouts?
right in the first.
Ashland Board of Trustees.
Oh, Ashland, the Board of Selectmen. Ah,
It should be
yes.
the
yes,
Board
yes.
of Selectmen.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I just say that previous is spelled wrong? Sorry.
Okay. No, that's what we need to see. Where is that?
First
please?
first
Oh,
sentence.
pervious.
We're pervious.
Don't want to be impervious.
Yes. Okay. So it's a very short report, which I think is to the point, you know, it doesn't need to be long. This we are simply giving to the Board of Selectmen as record, you know, for what happened and, you know, let history. Oh,
I had
we don't need the
highlighted those.
outline here. Yeah.
I had highlighted those figures because I wasn't sure what they were.
Okay, the original principal, that is correct. Now, what did she leave? 40,000.
I thought it was like 42,000.
It was 40,000 for
500. But for sake of argument, 40,500 would be fine.
okay. Yeah. Okay. And do you think that those numbers look correct to you, Walter?
It's in between 3 and 3.5% annual growth. So I think that's fine.
Okay. And to say that there's only 90,000, that's close enough. It depends
That
on.
is. Yep. You know, as a closing market today, what was invested was $90,086. So
Oh, okay.
we've
So we got
yeah, since we moved to
95,000.
Yeah, since we moved the money to Vanguard, it's appreciated a couple $1,000s in just a couple
Oh,
weeks.
nice. Yeah, so put that in the minutes, please, Lisa, that the money has been moved to Vanguard. That didn't come up in our financial statement, but that the money has been moved to Vanguard. So we're just trying to safeguard it as much as we can, you know.
And all but 7 cents of it has been invested.
What are you saving the 7 cents
Did
for,
you
Walt?
put that in your pocket?
It's my aggravation fee.
Wow, you're
this-
cheap, dude.
The 7 cents was interest accrued on what they call the settlement fund, which is the core position your money sits in until you invest it in different funds and securities. So the $88,500 that was transferred from Wells Fargo sat in that core holding account, which earns 0.01% interest or something for
Yeah.
4 or 5 days until all the transactions were completed. So
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
That's some pretty happy financial news. The library's looking at getting close to 100,000, you
Yep.
know, in this thing. And according to what the Mitchell Group drew up, you're not limited to just the income off it. You could take all of it if you wanted.
That's amazing. That really opens up a lot of possibilities, I think, for us.
It opens up a lot of possibilities, and keep in mind, we've got it invested where you're not going to be eaten away by fees. And you know, Walter's done a good job, so. It's stable. It's as stable as can be. Now, if everything turns south on the stock market, it's going to turn south too, but it just won't, you know, drop as fast as it would have.
Mhm.
Okay, well, barring any other discussion of this document, I move that we Scribners accept this report on the Scribner Trust and send it to the Board of Selectmen. Do I have a second on this motion?
Yes.
Okay, and so any further discussion? What I plan to do is send this to the BOS, like, you know, tonight or something, you know, as part of the December 7th. It's not going to be discussed per se, but it'll be in their packet. The same is true for the trustee of the trust fund's quarterly report, which will be like this size as well. It won't be discussed because we have a pretty full agenda with the Scribner dissolution. But, you know, it'll be in their packet because it should be there for the quarterly report. Well, if there's no more discussion, then I will move for a vote. All in favor of accepting this as it stands. David Toth,
Aye.
Walter Durack,
aye.
Lisa Rollins,
Aye.
and Amanda Loud also votes aye. So there we go. That carries, and we're all set with that. So I think as we're coming to one of the last, I keep saying this is going to be our last Scribner meeting. I keep trying to make it the last Scribner meeting, and I'm just not very successful. So
yeah.
it probably will not be the last one,
No.
but
No.
it'll be close to it. I'm sure we'll have another one. My guess is in you know, after the first of the year, and then probably after the town vote, we'll probably have another one when we are technically kind of done, but, you know, making sure that everybody's ready to go. There's no questions. And even afterwards, you know where to find us. So as far as regarding the dissolution of the board and trust and things that are going on, you guys are getting the phone bill that's still
Yeah.
coming to PO Box 425. So I think I've left a note and said, why don't you change that address so that you guys get the phone bill? And you can even call and change the name of who's holding it.
Well, we talked about that a little bit, and we feel like we shouldn't make any moves like that until after the vote, just to be
Okay.
kind of
I
on the safe
understand.
side, you know?
Sure, sure. So I'll just drop it by the library every
Right.
Right.
That's not a problem. So I'm trying to think of what else you paid. The fuel, the oil bill, the tank's been
Mhm.
filled, and that will probably last you close to a year.
I
I'm
think it
making an
will.
assumption. The fire, the Stanley fire, I went online. I gave Sarah, have you had a chance to do anything with Stanley Fire?
Yes, I did receive an email from them, and I set up an account.
Okay, good. I put you on as like co-host or whatever the term was, co-administrator or something. It was the only way I could figure out to make it so you could do whatever you needed to do. I would assume, do you have passcodes now?
I don't have a new passcode. I have the code that you had sent.
That's my passcode. I gave you everybody's
okay.
passcode. So you have a
Right.
passcode if the thing goes off. You've got a passcode you
Yes.
can say.
That's
Um,
something, yes.
So I think what you need to do is work with, you've been put on as co-administrator, so they should talk to you as much as they talk to me or anybody else. If they don't, let me know. But call
Okay.
in and see if you can't get your own passcode, in your name. Because the idea is after the vote in March, Walter and Lisa and Dave and I are all going to be just taken off of that, and will be taken off by you, Sarah, because you will have, I hope I gave you the authority to be able to do that. That was my intention.
All right.
I for what I could tell, you had as much authority on it as I do, and that was the intention. So don't take me off yet. But, after everything closes, then you can just, because I don't want to be called if the fire alarm goes off at the library. Just not what I wanted to have happen. So we've got Stanley, we've got the oil. I'll keep the phone bill coming over to you. You have the information, since I've got you all right here, you've got the information now on the fire safety business. And that's something that happens in the summer, that you have him come over and look at everything. I have not asked Stanley about the smoke detectors or the heat sensors, which are all the things you see when all the heat detector and smoke sensor stuff that you see is all under Stanley. None of it is battery. It's all hardwired, and it's all in the Stanley fire system, including the stuff up on the attic / third floor, whatever you want to call it. I have not talked to Stanley about coming out and looking at that. I know that the A1 or United Fire Safety thought they looked really old to him. So I was going to let that be, something that you library trustees would decide how you wanted to handle once I can just get you on the Stanley Fire System. I talked to Craig Moore. I saw him at the town hall this morning, and he's going to come and foam in the DPW is going to come and foam that giant hole that's down at the foundation of the library, that when you stand down at the furnace, you can watch the traffic go by at the Cumberland Farms. So they're going to come in and foam that. I think it's certainly a Band-Aid. It's not fixing the problem, but it stops it. And it's not costing any money. It's the town's going to do it for the town building. So where, it closes it up a little bit better this winter. And of course, it's going to have to be permanently fixed, but it puts you in a little bit better spot than you are right now.
Right.
Anything else? Do you see anything that needs to, we Scribners don't have, our funds have been frozen, but is there anything that needs to happen to the building, since technically we're still the landlords, that you need between now and then?
Our question was about the Scribners have a bunch of Christmas decorations in the shed.
Yeah, so I've heard. So I've seen. Yeah. I know that they put them out. Do you guys want them?
Sure.
My theory on this stuff is, I'm kind of in right now in about abandonment mode. So, there's some stuff I don't want thrown out, which are all the records up there that the library staff is very graciously put back into the closet, and I appreciate that. I need those to stay there, probably for another maybe 2 years. Let's let everything really settle well.
Sure.
But other than that, what do my fellow Scribners think on this? Is there anything that
benefit yard sale for the raising money for the trust? Although I think we'd have to pay people to take some of the decorations. That's just my personal opinion.
You're right. I have a box sitting behind me that has everything from ledger paper to a 3-hole punch to some roll of stamps. Some stamps I think might be 14-cent stamps, a roll of those, but nonetheless, oh yeah, all stuff that I put in a big box, and I've been using when I paid before the funds were frozen, and I was actually paying bills and stuff. I would use those stamps. And when the vote comes in March, Sarah will find when she walks into the library the next day, this box of stuff. As far as I'm concerned, is yours.
One thing that I do have that technically will be property of the library is the master key for the building exterior locks when we rekeyed that this summer. So everyone's carrying copies. The original master from Slage is in my safe at my house. And I'll gladly turn that over
Okay.
so that if the library chooses to rekey, and those knobs are new enough that you could go to Ashland Lumber and they have the authority to rekey. And certainly the Scribner trustees would relinquish their copies upon
Okay.
successful vote in March.
All right.
We don't have a
So
sip.
you're relinquishing the Christmas decorations for
Yeah,
us to do
anything-
whatever we want with them.
It's in the shed. I'll tell you, I even gave the key to the lock that's on the shed to
Yep.
Sarah, so she can get in.
Sarah's got it.
I've
Yep.
even given you the lock, so you can have it all. Is there
Thank you.
anything else between, kind of now and maybe March, thinking of that you might have questions about or need answers or need us to do or?
I might suggest that in preparation for taking this over, that the library trustees think about the investment strategy for that money. It's sort of it's sort of set up like a capital reserve fund, but I don't think it should be invested like a capital reserve fund. So
They're not invested. They earn nothing. Well, a few
right,
bucks a
yeah, because those funds need to be liquid. These funds don't necessarily need to be liquid.
Mhm.
So in terms of how the library trustees want to see that money grow, as opposed to how they, what plans they might have for using that money, all would, impact what kind of investment strategy the trustees of the trust fund would employ for that money.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it doesn't all have to be, what Dave said, you're going to be getting close to $100,000.
Right.
And you don't have to have all 100,000 of it fully invested. You could have half of it, invested, and another half, it depends on what your short-term and long-term goals are, and there is like a 3-day settlement period if you wanted to sell stocks and bonds to get cash. It's not as though it's not touchable, you can't. So I think I think that's excellent advice from Dave, to be thinking about what your plans are and come to
Mhm.
us as trustees in March and
If-
say,
If it would be to the benefit of the library trustees, I'd certainly be happy to distribute the same document that I did to the Scribner trustees the day that I invested all the funds in Vanguard, so you can see the breakout.
Mhm.
That'd be
You know,
great.
the-
Thank you, Walter.
Yep, sure. So, I mean, I have it, I pulled it up on my screen right here. We have 40% of, it was $88,563 that was invested. That was what transferred from Wells Fargo. Again, that's appreciated to $90,086 as a close of market today. And that was in the 12 days that it's been invested with Vanguard.
Amazing.
Yeah. 40% is invested in equities. So that's stocks, mutual funds. These are not direct stock purchases. 49% is invested in fixed income mutual funds. Those are your short and intermediate grade bonds. So a lot of government and high quality corporate bonds. 11% of the money is held in a money market, which is essentially a cash equivalent, and that gives about $9,500. So that'd be the first place to go from. If, for instance, the library came in March and asked for $5,000 for something, we'd take the $5,000 from cash, and then we can discuss readjusting some of the allocations in equities and fixed income to keep the ratio similar to what it is now. And that is in line with the investment policy that the trustees of the trust funds adopted this summer.
As you think about it, you're going to you all will know what the expenses of the library are best. But for example, there was the shocking oil bill. And there will be big shocking bills that come. And so the way Walter has set this up with about $10,000 in a money market, that you can just go and write a $10,000 check if you need to. That's probably a really good idea for going forward for the library always to have in that money market somewhere around $10,000 so that there is no surprises. Something happens, something breaks, you need a new furnace, whatever happens, you can write that check. As I said, it's about a 3-day settlement to sell stuff off, but it also is nice, just to have, and 10% of your holdings in a money market is not, a bad balance.
No, this, if you think about the way this is distributed, it's meant to be in terms of retirement account, because that's what most people who in garden variety investor, I guess. That mix is set up for someone who's just entered retirement, is looking for steady income, well protected growth, but still going to outpace the rate of inflation.
Good. Are we frozen? Are we?
I think it's just you and me, Alice. Nope, there's David Roll.
I'm here. We're all here.
Okay, all right, we're all
Okay.
still here. That was awkward.
Well, this has been an exciting Scribner meeting, and let me tell you that a year ago, I did not think I would be seeing one like this, but it is happy. I think it was a year ago that
Wow.
we were billing the library $10,000 a year. Well,
That's right. That's
there
right.
you go. 2019. Yeah.
I'll still take that in quarterly installments if you're interested.
I was just shocked. And I remember asking as I looked at this letter, do you all understand? Do you all understand where the library gets its money? This is a bill to me is what it was, to all of us, our pockets. So anyway, very good. Well, I would say that I don't see the need for another Scribner meeting next month or, perhaps until after the March election. But I want you to know that if you have any questions or want to talk to us, we can schedule one. That's not a big deal. So it says next meeting, is not scheduled. I think definitely after the vote in March, we need to have a Scribner meeting, even though we trustees, as of that vote, will no longer have any authority. There's three of the 4 of us are trustees of the trust funds. So I think it would be a very good thing to have a joint, and that might be something where the library has us at their meeting since we don't exist anymore.
Right.
But we do need to have that final closure, I think, to have that, any other questions that might arise by that time. But there you go. This is exciting. And I'll be sure that I dump the phone bill on Sarah's desk along with anything else that comes along. I don't foresee any bills, but this is new territory for me too. So.
Right.
So this.
I just want to say that all the credit for this really needs to go to Amanda.
Yeah. What a year, Amanda. Amazing.
I know. I've had a lot of really angry moments in the past year and a half, but anger was a good driving force. So there you go.
Anger directed to you too, which is never fun either. So
no, I'm getting used to it. Yeah, I'm getting used to that. It's whatever. Like get in line, Well, it's got a happy ending, and that's what I've been saying. I think it's going to have a happy ending if we can all hang out. And the sad news is that, Scribner Trust down, 9 more to go, and the other 9 aren't looking any better. So we're going to have a lot of things. We're trying to get, like I said, the Addison Fund was being declared abandoned, and so I've stopped that. But now there's a lot of paperwork process to get our Walter and Dave and my name on stuff so we can actually do something about it. I was able to stop it and keep it from being abandoned, and that it is ours. But now it's all the paperwork has to go through to prove who we are, and then we can move it and Walter can invest it nicely, and we can, start talking to you again about, do you want any of these dividends or not? So it only has about $3,000 in it. So you're not looking at a lot of money a year. But
it was under the Scribner trustees name?
No. It was under the trustees of the trust funds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly which trustees are listed on there. I have a feeling that, for example, Ed Dupee's name is on several different trusts. And he's deceased and has been for a while. So getting the records straight, is taking a lot of work with these investment houses, which are all over the place. And we're trying, as Walter pointed out with Vanguard, we're trying to consolidate to where we're at like one investment house. And, we've got stuff in Florida, we've got stuff in Missouri. This is out of Kansas City, Missouri. It would just be so much easier if we just kind of had one contact. But anyway, so very good. Well, y'all have a nice evening. I don't have anything else, any more discussion. Dave, Walter, Lisa, do you have anything we need to talk about? Any questions?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't need a motion to dismiss the meeting. I found out, so I'm just going to dismiss the meeting to save some time.